Correction, it wasn't Nutella that I was eating when I was on the raw diet. I think it was something called Nuttaline or something. I can't remember. It wasn't a sweet thing. It was like a nut, a savoury nut thing. It was all one colour, like a beigey colour. I can't remember what nuts they would put in it, but yeah, you would slice that. So correction, it wasn't Nutella. I don't know why I said that, because that would totally cancel the raw diet, wouldn't it? Another thing that I thought had a huge influence on me that I think would be good to mention that's not directly linked to health, but is why I made a foray into veganism when I was young. And I broke with the veganism and I then came back to it later. I'm not a vegan now. I would say I'm a probably 90% vegetarian. But I have been vegan throughout large parts of my life. And the first time was again when I was really young, round about the time I went on the raw diet. Maybe I was 7 or 8. And my parents used to go to festivals at the time, kind of hippie style festivals. We're talking like the mid 80s. So the Glastonbury Festival, but other more kind of fringe festivals where you'd get lots of hippie types. I remember the stalls with all sort of crystals. Once I bought a crystal earring, put it in my ear. And at that festival, we just happened to come across a guy called Don. And he was this super sort of animal liberation guy. I think he was Australian. He had kind of an accent. It was either Australian or, yeah, probably Australian or maybe Kiwi. And his whole van was painted on the outside with all pictures of animals suffering. And when you went inside his van, there was all leaflets. It was quite a big van, or at least it seemed like it was as a kid. And there were leaflets inside from Animal Liberation Front and all these organisations, all exposing factory farming, intensive farming, and battery hens, and especially like experiments on animals. And I can remember walking there with my dad and being just super, like it being super impressionable or having a big effect on me. And so that's how we became friends with this guy called Don. And I took loads of these leaflets because they were free. And I became so concerned about the animals. And then we became friends with this guy, and we would see him at other festivals, and he also came to visit us in our house in Spencer Street at the time in New Bradwell in Milton Keynes. But anyway, at this festival, I decided to help Don and to volunteer. So I set up a stall outside our camper van, I guess it was. And I put a stall outside and I put a collection box and I laid out a display of Don's leaflets about animal rights and highlighting animal suffering. And people would walk by and drop a little donation in the pot. And I must have raised maybe I raised £10 or £20. And my dad was urging me to go to the busier part of the festival where there were loads of people where I could raise more money. But I was a bit shy. I didn't quite have the courage to do that. But I was happy to set this thing up outside our camper van. And then after that, I can remember collecting all the money together and proudly presenting that to Don and giving him that money and saying, look, I've raised this for you. And I was only 7 or 8 years old. And that also has been part of the sort of the health journey, has been concern for animals. Although I'm not as strict as I was in the past, it's something that also has stuck with me.